Hey, 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 my family. It's your girl, Dr. Shonna, and we are here for Mental Health Saturday. It's not a Mental Health Friday because clearly I wasn't on yesterday, but I am on today, and we're going to have a good conversation about crime and poverty in the inner cities and how the residents of the inner city is all there as research subjects. So I want you guys to really pay attention to what I'm talking about. I want you guys to make sure you take note of some key concepts and just engage in a conversation. Of course, critical discourse. Don't get in your bag. Don't get offended. Don't get hurt. But let's just have this conversation because I know that we probably heard similar conversations of this before, but I want to give you guys a different spin on what we need to be paying attention to. So as you guys are coming on in, let me do some housekeeping real quick so that we can go ahead and get this conversation going. If you are on Facebook, I need you to not only like the page, but follow the page. Hit both of them, like and follow, as you know, Facebook keeps those things separated. And make sure you engage in the audience by giving me a thumbs up, share the video, tag somebody in the video. Let's have a deep conversation. Let's go ahead and engage with one another from a critical perspective. If you're on YouTube, I need you to hit the subscribe button, including the notification bell, so you can be notified when I go live. Give the video a thumbs up, engage in the comment section, and most importantly, share the video so that people can know that we are on and we having this critical conversation. If you are one of my moderators, first and foremost, I want to say thank you. Thank you for continuously moderating the channel for me. And remember, we allow people to have their opinions and their thoughts just as long as they keep it respectful and critical. But we understand that some people in the community is not critical. We have mercy on them. We pray for them. But they can engage in a conversation. We don't beat them up. Is when they get disrespectful and they start distracting from the conversation, we send them to hell where they belong. Right? So to speak. It's figure of speech. Don't get in your feelings. But anyway, hey, Mary, thank you so much for joining the channel as a new member. That's how you show support for me, and I really do appreciate that. Even on Facebook, guys, you're able to show support by joining or subscribing to the channel as well, where you guys have little opportunities to engage with me in a different manner than anyone else. So let's have this conversation about today. Salute to Dr. Shonna, looking beautiful as ever. So damn cute, no disrespect. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I just shared. I haven't gotten a notification in a long time. I'm glad I caught you live. I'm glad you're live as well, Nicole. Okay, so listen, let's go get started. Let me tell you guys why I decided to do this video. Now, I know so many of us have experienced in one form or another, somebody that we know or somebody who is close to us or somebody we have knowledge of who has lost their life to crime and violence, senseless crime and violence in our inner city communities, right? And so I have an associate or an acquaintance is what I should say. I have an acquaintance that I woke up the other day. And as I'm getting prepared and, I have to always market myself. So I'm about to do my next post. Something comes up in my feed and I see everyone giving condolences to somebody I'm acquainted with. So I'm like saying, okay, what happened? I just saw this person the other day that something happened to her. So I start to get a little bit nervous and I look and I see that she lost her son to gun violence. And this is a woman who I'm acquainted with her. This is a woman who loves herself, loves her children, is so completely respectful of other people. Her children are sweethearts. They're the kind of sons that most mothers would love to have, right? Adorable, lovely, respectful, handsome, everything, you name it. And I don't know the whole story about what happened because the whole investigation is not over, but nonetheless, he was in a restaurant and he was gunned down in a restaurant. So of course my heart was broken. I was devastated. I was devastated for her. I was devastated for her family. But most importantly, I was devastated for all of us who have sons and all of us who have daughters where we know when they leave us, we don't know whether or not they're going to come back. We don't know whether or not they're going to be alive. We don't know if they're going to be innocent bystanders or something, or let's talk about it, or if they're going to be murderers. So we never really talk about that other side. We never even talk about that we are also raising murderers. We don't really have that conversation. We talk about the victims of these senseless crimes or these innocent lives being lost because they're caught in the middle of crossfire, but we never really talk about that those children taking people's lives belong to somebody as well, right? So it's one of those things where we have to have some type of balance, but we're not going to have a conversation about balance tonight. We're going to have a conversation about how we are, if you're in a city, we are all test dummies, research subjects. So I went in and I started to pull out some of my old research when it comes to scarcity and understanding how that's designed and how that works, and understanding some of the studies that are out there. I'm going to go over a study with the capuchin, I think that's how you pronounce it, capuchin monkeys, if I'm saying it correctly. But there's a set of monkeys that a study was going on. We're going to talk about these monkeys and what they came to realize out of these monkeys. And then we're going to apply these things to the inner city so we can really understand that if they really wanted to, when I say they, I'm talking about the government, the local government, the state government, the federal government, if they really wanted to change the dynamics of crime in these communities, they can. We have seen it over and over again. We have seen communities get gentrified, and all of a sudden the crime goes down. Right? We have seen communities get gentrified and all of a sudden police presence is everywhere. We've seen it happen. So we know that they have the ability to change the economy of a community, which therefore will lead to less crime. I'm not going to say it's going to get rid of crime, but it's going to lead to less crime. We know that they have the ability to do it, but why don't they? Why don't they? So this is the kind of conversation we're going to have tonight. So again, if you're on YouTube, you need to be able to share this video, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, communicate throughout the chat room, engage. If you're on Facebook, the same thing. Share the video, tag somebody in the video, like and follow the page, give the video a thumbs up, and of course, communicate in the chat. So let's talk about it. I want to talk about the design of inner cities. And I think that this design has been happening over a while in stages, never really getting to the core of the issue, never really changing the issue. Is a way of keeping the community where it's at, keeping the community where it's at, but for what purpose? What benefit? We're going to talk about that. What benefit does it leave the economy to keep the inner city in a condition that it is in? It's a question for us to think about. I want to talk about the initial design of how the inner cities came about. We already know the story. I'm not going to go through the whole story about how once upon a time the inner cities were not occupied by us. And you know what I mean when I say us. I'm talking to my community. I know we have visitors that always come through. Come on through, visitors, or sit down and be quiet. Just learn. Don't come here interrupting our flow. I can't stop y'all from coming to the page. I wish I could, but I can't. So since I cannot stop you, you just need to learn how to listen and be respectful. This is my headspace. Don't disrespect my space. But y'all know what I'm talking about when I say we. Y'all know who I'm talking about when I say we. So if you're not a part of the we, keep your mouth shut and just listen. But we already know the story of how the inner cities were created. We were not the ones initially in the inner city. And so they decided, the powers that be, when they decided that they wanted to move closer to where their employment was, they started to change the structure, change the setup, put highways going through our community, take over by eminent domain, allow the people that were living in the community to move out of the community, go into the suburbs, because now they had a route to get to work. Now they had highways that was going through the inner city community to get them to where they need to be, so they can make sure that the currency and the economy in their community, their direct line, continues to flow. Meanwhile, once they left, you know what kind of flight they call it, right? There's certain language I can't use on YouTube. Y'all know I get warnings, but you know what kind of flight? Non-melanated flight. That's what we're going to call it. But when non-melanated flight happened, we know what happened to the inner cities. We know what started to happen. They started to neglect the inner cities. And this neglect was done in different stages. And of course, when things get all out of control, they always want to throw some pennies or some small little tokens into the equation to try to keep us calm. And so what they started to do was started to meet individual needs, because once upon a time, they were not meeting the individual needs of our community with different relief programs, such as income assistance, housing subsidies, food stamps, Medicaid. These things initially was not afforded to our community. But when they noticed, not that when they knew, they always knew what they was going to do. But when it started to get out of control and people needed help and needed services, and they never do anything out of altruism, right? It wasn't like because I'm doing goodwill and I want you to be benefited, I don't want you to be poor. That wasn't the case, because if that was the case, when they was given the non-melanated folks welfare and housing assistance or subsidies, income assistance, when all these things was given to the non-melanated folks, it would have been given to us too at the same time, but they know they haven't been doing it, right? So when they decided to do that, it was by design. You do got to understand how the design works. You give somebody housing assistance, you give somebody income assistance, you give them food stamps, you give them Medicaid. You got to understand how the design works. And when I talk about that study that was done with the monkeys, you're going to see the nonsense that it has created and what it's continuing to create, right? You don't give them the jobs, you don't give them the adequate education that they need. You don't hire them and give them adequate and livable wages. You don't do those kind of things. You don't want to do those kind of things. You don't want to level them up. You don't want to level. You want to keep them just at a place, just enough to survive, not thrive, but just enough to survive and to fuel the economy. You want to give just enough. You're following me? You know where I'm going? Listen to what I'm saying. But that was the first stage. Then it went into the second stage. This is how they all designed the inner city. Right? Listen to what I'm saying. All of this stuff is by design. The second stage they went into is now they realizing that because, the crack epidemic went crazy in many communities, war on drugs, violence, crime, all these wars on that they were saying they was having, it was out of control in our community. And so they said, if we had economic development there, if we build it up and we change this ugliness of this community, maybe some of the things would change. When they know that was a lie, right? So what they did is the second stage was bringing in economic development. And so they started to provide subsidies. It was another way just to keep them rich. They started to provide subsidies to corporations and other big, deep pocket entities to provide housing development in these communities, to provide neighborhood development in these communities, and to have real estate acquisitions where they go in. Obviously, we know who was losing their houses, right? We know whose houses they were acquiring, but they go in and they're able to take real estate. So once again, they're getting money out of it. So it's not like they were developing the inner cities because they really want to help the people of the community. It wasn't because they wanted to elevate the community so that they can do better in life. Because we know in order for you to do better in life, you have to provide equal opportunities and education. In order for that to happen, they know that. They know that part, but they weren't focusing on those areas. It was another way to fatten up pockets. Keep them there. Keep them trapped there. Don't let them come out. Very few people make it out. Everyone doesn't get to make it out, right? Keep them right where they at. Give them just enough so they can stay there, so they can know, so they don't have any idea what's going on. Just keep them right where they are at while we get fat. We fatten our pockets. We benefit. So that was the second stage. So they caught on. They said, well, we see something here. We see something here. This property is cheap because, the neighborhoods ain't nothing. These people get subsidies. They get a Section 8. They're getting housing subsidies, right? Getting welfare. They're getting all these things. We can profit off of that. So we're going to go in. We're going to do a little bit. We're going to put up some makeshift buildings that are cheaply designed, right? We're going to acquire people's properties who are losing their properties because they can't pay taxes. We're going to do all of that stuff, and we're going to rent them out. We're going to get Section 8. We're going to get food stamps. They're going to get their food stamps so they can buy from our supermarkets and our stores. It was a whole genius plan. A whole genius plan. Meanwhile, no one is really helping the community. Meanwhile, no one is giving them what they need to bring them up out of their situation. But instead, they're giving them stuff that actually disables them, that keeps them from growing, right? So when you create a need where there's scarcity there, we're going to talk about scarcity, but where there's scarcity there and it's not enough, you create a formula that is toxic. And we're going to go over that formula. Not before the third stage though, right? So let's get into the third stage. So then you have the third stage that happens. And this is where the inner city community becomes isolated from the surrounding economy, right? You do enough just to keep them where they're at, but we don't want them coming out of their community into our community. So we give them everything they need in their community, but don't worry, we're going to get rich off of it. We give them everything they need in their community that would keep them in their community and don't have them venture out. You think I'm lying? Let me tell you something. You'd be surprised how many people I run into when I'm either providing services for them, or I may be gathering data, information on people, so I talk to certain people, or I know them personally. You'd be surprised how many people in the inner city, and some of y'all can tell the truth here. Y'all know how we are. We all welcome the truth, right? We're all honest over here. But you don't know how many people I come across that don't have passports. They've never left their community. There's so many people that I have met in New Jersey. Now, y'all know I'm from New York, born and raised, right? But I live in New Jersey now. But there's so many people I have met right here in New Jersey that's a skip, jump, and a hop away from New York City, but they have never gone into the city. There's so many people that I meet in the inner cities that have never traveled outside of their area. They may have gone like one state over, 2 states over, just, to visit a family member and stuff, but they really haven't gone on vacation. They really haven't left the country. They've never been on a plane. They've never been on a cruise ship. They've never traveled across the state. They haven't done any of those things. They don't even know what it looks like to be anywhere outside of the hood. Right? Like Janelle said. Here's Janelle saying it right here. See, I can't make this stuff up. We all know it. We all know it. Janelle said they haven't even left their block. They haven't even left their block. There are so many people. So when I sit back and I think about it, I say, this is all by design. And that's the third stage I'm talking about, where they purposely isolate. Now, remember, this is Mental Health Saturday, so it's no longer Friday. Technically, it's a Mental Health Friday show, but we're doing it on Saturday. So we're going to get there. Just follow the story. Follow the bouncing ball. They purposely isolate the community from the surrounding economy. They keep them out of the surrounding economy. And why do they do that? It's because the wealthy knows that they can redistribute their wealth by keeping them right where they're at, getting these people to spend their money and still stay where they're at, never having them venture out. Never having them leave. They develop businesses in the community just for the residents to keep them there, give them all they need right there in their community. So, and while still fat in their pockets. We don't want you coming out to our malls and our suburbs. So let me go ahead and bring Dr. J's to your community. Let me go ahead and bring Nike to your community. Not the stuff that matters, right? Not healthy food, right? Not healthy options, not educational options, nothing that's going to elevate them, improve their health, increase their knowledge. No, not that stuff. We're going to give you stuff that we have purposely, and I'm going to get to that, condition your mind to have you believe that you need it so you can spend your money so we can redistribute the wealth back to us. It leaves your community and it comes right back to us. You don't need to get in your car and drive to our community with all that hooligan stuff. You don't have to come into our malls and our neighborhood with all of your violence and all the other stuff. Keep your ass right where you at. We're going to send you Nike over there. We're going to give you Gap over there, the Children's Place. We're going to send all these kind of stores in your community so you don't got to leave your community. Meanwhile, you still fattening our pockets. We're going to give you government assistance and subsidies because we know you're not going to spend it on the things that's going to elevate you. You're going to take those government subsidies and that government assistance, and you're going to spend it on the items that we tell you that you need. Because you remember I told you we can control your mind. We can control your mind, we can control your behavior. We're going to have you spend it on the items that we told you that you need so you can bring the money back to us. Right? Shout out to Sid. Thank you so much for that donation. Sid is saying, now that these areas are identified, the Biden admin wants to remove or bury freeways to reconnect gentrifiers to central business districts, thus calling them righting a wrong. This is wrong. It's always a strategy. Sid, you know this like I know it. It's always a strategy. They always got a strategy. They always change the language. You got to understand it's going to benefit them. They know what they're doing. They only make changes if they're going to benefit. They're never doing it out of altruism. They're never doing it for your benefit, for the good of the people. They're not doing it for the good of the community. They tell you it's for the good of the community. It's for the good of the people, but that's not the intent. You got to follow the money bucket. It always goes back to them. So they're going to continue to keep people poor, creating all these contract jobs, right? You're driving Uber, you're driving Lyft, you're doing Uber Eats, you're doing Grubhub, all these little menial jobs, Instacart, all these little jobs that really equate to $10 to $12 an hour, some of them $15 an hour, depending on how hard you work and how long you work, right? That's what it's all equating up to, but it's not enough for you to survive. So you're doing this work and you're still collecting some subsidies, and you're going ahead and you're going to spend that money on everything they tell you to spend that money on, because there's consequences to that design. So let's get into the design consequences. Y'all still following me before we get to the mental health portion of it? I hope you're still following me. Let's get into the design. So the design is on purpose. It is the creation of scarcity. Have you ever heard of that? They purposely create scarcity in the hood on purpose, because it increases the competition, number one, right? And there's some negative effects to this too. We're going to talk about that in a moment, but it increases the competition. It increases desperation and dependence. This is a bad recipe. It's a very bad recipe. Increasing competition, increasing desperation and dependency, decreasing patience. Listen to what I'm saying. Decrease in patience and decrease in self-respect and love and self-love. You hear what I'm saying? You increase competition. You know what happens when people are competing. You know what happens when people are competing. You increase the competition. You increase the desperation. You're desperate for these items. You're desperate for these things that are considered scarce. You're desperate. You're dependent on them for your livelihood. Not that you need them. You depend on that because they told you if you have these things will bring power. If you have these things will bring respect. If you have these things will bring beauty. All the stuff that doesn't matter. Meanwhile, while they're pushing this kind of advertising and this kind of marketing into the inner cities to control their behavior and their mindset, at the same time they're doing all of this, they're decreasing one's patience. Delayed gratification. You guys heard of delayed gratification, right? And you see it all the time, and even the children in some of our houses. Think about it. Some of y'all got children that don't exercise delayed gratification. You live in a popcorn society. You want everything quick, fast. Put it in the microwave, hit 2 minutes, popcorn done. You don't want to take your time and let it develop over the stove by shaking it, wait until it pop. You don't want that. You want it right now. You want it quick, fast. Everything is about fast, fast, fast. So they create this need to get it fast, because if you don't get it now, you're going to miss out. And if you miss out, you're not going to be beautiful. If you miss out, you're not going to be powerful. If you miss out, you're not going to be desirable. If you miss out, you're not going to be respected. And so they have all these people controlling their minds, controlling their behaviors, and the stuff that they should be focusing on, they're not. They don't have the self-respect. They don't have the self-love. They don't have the desire for one's culture. They don't have the desire to increase education for the most part, because these things are designed and created through the creation of scarcity. But who benefits from that? Who benefits from that? The 1%. The 1% benefits from inner cities and their poverty and their crime and the way it's designed. They benefit from it because they remind people on a daily basis of their poverty, not giving them the tools, the resources to get out of it, not invested in marketing that's going to help them to increase their desire to get out of poverty. They're not marketing educational programs. right? That will actually help them to get out of their poverty. They're not doing that. They're not marketing entrepreneurship. They're not marketing it to help them to get out of their poverty. They're not marketing networking. They're not marketing any of those things. They're not talking about it. They're not marketing it. But instead, they're advertising luxuries. So you tell me, family, what the hell does a luxury advertisement have? Its what the hell is it doing in the inner city? What place does it have in a poor community? Why are we seeing these kind of advertisements in poor communities? Have you thought about that? Have you thought about why you see these kind of ads in your community? Have you thought about why they promote toxic entertainment in your community? Have you thought about why there's so much anti-education, promotion of anti-education in your community? Have you thought about that? Have you thought about why there's so many promotions of anti-creativity in your community? Have you thought about that? What is a design? Why would they rather market sex, drugs, alcohol, and luxuries in your community rather than STEM programs, rather than, your child can be a doctor too, your child can be a lawyer too, rather than programs designed to increase your education, to increase your skills? Why aren't those marketing billboards all over the place? But instead, they market all the stuff that you're going to lust after, all the stuff that you're going to desire, all the stuff that you want, because they're letting you know how poor you are and you can't have it. But yet you see so many poor people decked out in luxuries. Why? Why do you think that happens? Why do you think they purposely shift the community's perspective away from intact families, away from knowing your history, or the beauty of your history and who you are as a people here in America? Why do you think they shift the community perspectives away from spirituality? Why do you, or even religion for some people, right? Whether you agree with it or not, they shifted it out of the community. Why do you think they shift the community's perspective away from cultural identity? Why do you think those things have been stripped from the inner city communities? So you have to remove the connection to one's past. You have to remove the connection to one's culture, to one's identity, to one's belief in a higher power, to one's spirituality. You have to strip that away in order for you to get control over the person's mind. And you replace it with all these luxuries that their income cannot afford, but yet they have it. So I want to talk to you guys real quick. The concept of artificial scarcity. Think about it for a second. Artificial scarcity. This is where you get people to spend their money on impulse. Spend their money on impulse. You keep things in short supply, which creates a high demand. It creates a competitive mindset. I gotta have that because there's not enough, so I gotta get it. And if we think about this competitive mindset, then we'll know why we see lines wrapping around the corner for people waiting for Jordans. Why we see people staking out at 5 o'clock in the morning to a store open so they can get the latest iPhone. Why do we see people fighting and staying up to 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning waiting for the next PS5? I think that's what it's called, PlayStation 5, if I'm not mistaken, whatever the hell that stuff was going on, waiting so they can get it, so they could buy it real quick because it's not going to be enough and they got to get it, because if not, they got to go on a wait list to wait for it. Right? Why do you think that they tell you that there's a limited edition on things? Get it now, going fast, selling out. Why do you think that they have all of this frenzy? They create all of this frenzy, all of this competition, all of this impatience for doodads. Doodads are things that have no meaning. They're liabilities. You spend your money, the value is gone. It is not worth anything anymore. You can't get any money back for it. It's doodads. Why do you think they set that up in the urban poor communities, the inner cities? Why do you think they're marketing this to people who don't have the money? Because what they have done is program you to operate out of your ego. So they start to feed the ego of the poor. They want to get control of your mind so that you put your value and your worth in items, your value and your worth in senseless spending, your value and your worth so you can look like you got it going on, so you can look like you are popping. Thank you for that donation, sis. Sis, the scarcity is compounded by the U.S. State Department and U.S. Human Services, or Health and Human Services, providing business grants to undocumented immigrants to open stores in Black communities while Black Americans are cut off from this. And guess what, Sid? And on top of it, I know this is going to hurt some people, but it is what it is. And I'm not saying that this is true for everybody. But when we look at the large majority, things are finally shifting now. But when we look at the large majority in the inner cities, let's just be honest. Can we be honest for a second? How many of you, if you have to think about a percentage, I'm not talking about having a dream or idea of starting your business. How many people actually do that is of, and I'm not talking about foreign-born people, because foreign-born people are people that come from families where they're culturally situated and set. A lot of them, they open up businesses. There's a lot of Caribbeans and Africans that have their businesses all through the inner city as well, right? But how many of them who are African Americans open up their businesses to provide services to their community? I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm saying how often? How often? That's what I'm asking. I had a conversation with somebody where I knew that it just was not going to go anywhere, because I was like, oh, this is not a person I want in my circle. And listen, I admit I did get kind of like in your face direct, because I can't stand when people think they're smart and they telling me something can't be done, and I'm doing it every goddamn day. But I had a conversation with somebody, and it was a fella. And the fella was telling me, he was asking me something about how was my youngest child doing. And I was telling him that, you know, my son, he's always looking for ways to make money. I said, that little boy, he's going to own his own business. He's not going to work for anybody. So this person decided to tell me, in all of his glory, he decided to tell me that, yeah, I mean, it's good that he has that mindset, but I think, you know, don't feed into it. You don't want to ignore it, but don't feed into it, because I think a lot of mistakes that we are making in our community is setting our kids up to believe that they can be business owners and they can open up business, and not realizing how hard it is to be an entrepreneur. We really need to be telling our kids that, you know, to go to school or to get a trade or something so that they can know how to take care of themselves. Yeah, it's cool to be an entrepreneur, but it's not a realistic dream for our community. So we got to move away from that mindset and stop having our kids believe that they're going to do something and do it successfully, where chances are of them setting up successfully and having that done is slim to none, because that's not what happens truly in our community. Our kids need to be prepared to survive, and they need to understand that you're going to have to work for somebody. Because that business fail, you're going to have to work for somebody. So we should really be teaching our kids to get a job. And, you know, after they get situated in their job and they get their benefits and they get their retirement, if they want to open up a business, then cool. But we got to stop doing that. It's cool to have your own business, but the truth is many of us don't have their own business. Now he's talking to me. Now he ain't know my history and my background. I was just listening. And normally, I'm a lady. Normally, I operated all of my feminine glory and my power. But don't get it twisted. Y'all know my sun sign is Aquarius. My moon sign is Sagittarius. They're both masculine signs. Don't get it twisted. So I decided to shut him up. I decided to shut him up. You know we never spoke again, right? Not one more phone call. I was like, I disagree with you. I said, I disagree with you. No, hear me out, sis. Hear me out, sis. And he went on and on and on trying to make me see it from his perspective. And I said, with all due respect, people that don't understand money and people who don't understand how to increase their funds, how to get their money and their assets to work for them, will never understand the mind of an entrepreneur. I've been working for myself for a very long time. I understand the mindset of an entrepreneur, and my child is only demonstrating and communicating what he sees in his household, because both his father and I are both business owners, and his father has been in business for himself for 30 years. So that's all he knows is entrepreneurship. All he knows is how to flip a dollar. All he knows is how to grow some more money. All he knows is how to thrive, not just survive. That's all he knows. That the language that he's speaking is the language that we teach him. And I said, the difference between you and me is I know how to grow money. See, you get up and you go to work every day to make money just to spend it. I get up every day and I run a business to make money just to invest it. What's your investment strategy? What's your plan? What are you going to do? What are you going to do if you get fired? Can you survive? Do you have at least 6 months savings saved up? I do. Do you? Can you afford to remove yourself out of a community that chances are will take your life innocently by walking outside and getting a gun in the back of your head, a bullet to your dome? Can you survive? Can you afford to move your children out of that community? Can you afford to send your children to school to make sure that they can compete in the world that you're talking about? Because the world that you're talking about, getting them a job, they got to have the education to compete with their counterparts. And if you're in a failing school system, it's going to be much harder for your children to do it versus mine. You know, we never talked again. He said, let me call you back. Let me call you back. I was going to call him back. He definitely wasn't on my level. I was like, good Lord, you ignorant ninja. I can't talk to ninjas. I can't. But this is what I'm talking about. You got to understand that when you program and condition the mindset of a community so that they don't look at themselves as the answer, when they don't see themselves as having the ability to make things happen, when they don't see themselves as invested in themselves and understanding how money works and how to grow money and how to create money for their economy, for their community, so that they don't have to go outside of their community asking for anything. If you don't teach people how to do that, they're going to have this man's mindset. This man wakes up every day and struggles every day. And I wasn't going to play struggle Olympics with him because I'm not in the struggle Olympics. I'm not going to do it. I wasn't even going to take my time to even educate the brother because he didn't want to hear me out. He knew all the answers in all his masculinity. He knew all the answers. Sit on that. You don't know anything. I can't learn you nothing. You mad at a 7-year-old knows more about money than you. But I know this is by design. I know this happens because when you remove cultural identity, when you remove history, when you remove everything that says you are powerful, you are worthy, you can do it, you are valuable. When you remove that and you replace it with all these doodads, people forget their own power. People forget their own strength. Replace them. And because the system is set up to feed the ego of the poor. And that's what happens. When you're feeding somebody's ego and you're always having all these luxuries up there, you got Beamers, Bentley, Benzes running through the community. You got all these fancy shoes, 300. I went to the mall the other day with my son because I wanted to go get me some retro Jordans, and I had no idea them suckers were $365 and up. So my son goes to me. So I said, I want the Jordan 5s. Some ones I grew up with. I want to get a pair of those for the summer so I can wear my tracksuits. So we go there to the mall, and I'm flipping over these tags, and my son is looking at me, and I'm looking at him. And he's looking at me and I'm looking at him. And I said, this is real? I said, aren't those Jordan 5s on your feet? And he was like, yeah, but I didn't pay this kind of money. So why is this happening? And then my son put me on, which many of you guys know. Thank you for that donation, Mary. Right? Thank you for that donation. I'm going to read what you said in a second. But my son put me on to why that happens. He said all these people that decided to open up their little stores, their little shops to sell these retro Jordans at these prices, what they do is the minute the Jordans hit the regular stores, they buy up a slew of them. They buy them all up so you can't access them in the regular stores. And then they just jack up the prices. They created the scarcity. And I'm sitting around here and I'm looking at all these little kids and all these people coming in, and most of them urban, in a city, hood. You know, I mean, we know. Come on, we know. Listen, I know somebody will say, oh, how would you say that? We know our own people. That's why this is Black media for our channel, right? We know our own people. We know our own people. And they in there buying these Jordans for $360. You know, I took my little tail out of that store, walked away from it. I was like, oh no, she is not doing that. Walked out of the store. But these people in there trying on these Jordans that's all wrapped in the plastic, $365, all during stimulus time. This is all like 2 weeks ago. You know, everyone got their stimulus money. But this is what they do. They control your mind to tell you what you need so you can feel good about yourself. What you need in order for you to feel powerful, so that you can be respected. You're going to be respected because you got some retro Jordans on your feet that you paid $400 for. This is the respect that you're going to have in the hood. You don't use the brain in between your ears. You're not getting yourself out your situation because you know the government is not going to do it for you. But yet, you got on $400 sneakers. And I stopped in the store and I'm looking, I'm like, holy God. And when my son told me how they do it, I'm sitting like, wow. And I'm watching all these mofos. Y'all know the ninjas I'm talking. Y'all know the ninjas. Don't try to act like Dr. Shonna just being mean and bad. I'm not being mean. I'm not being bad. We know the ninjas, but I'm watching all the ninjas cop $400 sneakers. I'm like, wow. Astonishing. You put this over education and everything else. Wow. Thank you for that donation, Mary. She says he's thinking in the space of limitations where there aren't any. We set the standard for our children by example, not by what statistics says. Absolutely. Thank you for that donation, Janelle. Janelle is saying, keep educating us, Dr. Shonna. I appreciate that. But y'all know what I'm talking about. Right? Yeah, somebody said it here. $20 for a cup of coffee at Starbucks. And this is what people pay. This is what they do. Feeding their ego. Feeding their ego, thinking they got something. Thinking that the world's going to look at them differently. Thinking that they're going to be seen as balling. You ain't balling. We know you're not balling. This is what happens, right? It's amazing to me. Sad and amazing at the same time. Love you too, Treasure. Appreciate that. Right? So we got to talk about now the psychological effects of scarcity that I'm getting out of here. So let's talk about those psychological effects, because it does. And it's done on purpose. And we're going to talk about that study with the monkeys that I told you about. Scarcity presents scarcity presents urgent demands that hijack the cognitive system. That's the way you think. So listen to what I'm saying, family. You got to follow me. This is Mental Health Fridays. Well, Mental Health Saturday today. But follow what I'm saying. Listen to me. I'm going to say it slower. Scarcity presents urgent demands. What you have to have right now. These are urgent demands. I got to get it, because if I don't get the iPhone, I'm not going to be able to get it. If I don't get Jordans, I'm not going to be able to get it. If I don't get PS5, I'm not going to be able to get it. If I don't get the limited edition, I'm not going to be able to get it. I got to get this right now. Scarcity presents urgent demands that hijack, take over, take control of, that hijack the cognitive system, the way you think. Your cognitive system is your ability to think things through. And so basically what it's saying is creating scarcity in the hood, is done by design. And what it does is it creates an urgency. You got to have this now. And it hijacks your cognitive system, your ability to think. Nothing else is important but the item that your mind is on. So everything else that you need, health, education, adequate housing, taking care of your hygiene, those things all become secondary. Culture, spirituality, all those things become secondary. A clean community, a safe community, those things become secondary because your mind has been hijacked because of the creation of scarcity. And this is what leads to counterproductive behaviors. You remove money or you have limited money available for people, and you create all this advertisement that says you need this, you need this, you need this, you need this, and you know the money in the community is lacking, the resources are lacking. Now you're creating competition. So if you're able to cop it and I can't cop it, I'm going to take it from you. And they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. See, a lot of people like to say, no, that's just people. If people wanted to get their lives together, they can get their lives together. People choose to commit crimes because no one is really thinking about the psychology behind it. No one is thinking about the psychological effects of creating an environment and removing resources from the environment, removing opportunity from the environment, removing quality education from the environment, replacing it with stuff that doesn't matter, stuff that isn't good for you. You do that and you create scarcity, you're going to create crime. You're going to see murders. You're going to see robberies. You got them J's on your feet and you think you cute? You think you better than me? Oh, you think because your parents was able to get you a pair of J's, I'm going to take them. Because their thinking has been hijacked. The need to have some fancy $400 sneakers on your feet has become the priority, not your education. The need to have the newest iPhone in your pocket has become the priority, not employment, not your education, not running a business, not taking care of your health, not raising your family to be independent. Those things are not priority. And you want to know why I say the people in the urban communities are research studies? Let me tell you about the capuchin monkeys. Capuchin monkeys. It was a study that was done in 2005 by a psychologist from Yale University. Y'all can look up the study on your own. Okay, the capuchin monkeys. I think it is spelled CAPUCHIN, if I'm not mistaken. CAPUCHIN, capuchin monkeys. It was a 2005 study that was done from a psychologist from Yale University in conjunction with an economist. And what they wanted to see was how would these monkeys spend money once they taught them how to use money. Initially, they gave the money, the monkeys the money, because capuchin monkeys aren't the smartest things on earth. Now, I'm not trying to be funny here. I'm not trying to be funny, but if you remove education, quality education from our students, if we remove the things that they need in order to educationally compete in this world, to have educational capital, which will lead to other forms of capital, including economic capital, right? If you remove these things, it's going to decrease one's ability to think critically, right? We know this for a fact. Don't be offended, and don't be upset. But people who have limited education, and when I say education, I'm not only talking about formal education. Limited education can be you're choosing not to pick up books and increase your knowledge. Forget about the school system. We already know the public school system is designed to fail you, period. If you're not picking up books, if you're not watching documentaries, if you're not doing things to study, if you're not entertaining online training programs, if you're not watching YouTube for educational purposes, if you're not increasing your knowledge, then that means you're stunting your educational growth, period. I'm not just talking about formal education. I'm talking about both formal and informal education. We already know when you have limited education, your ability to think critically is stunted. We already know that. So they have these capuchin monkeys. And the capuchin monkeys are not very smart. They're not very smart monkeys, right? Well, that's what researchers think. I think they're very smart monkeys. And I think this research study proves how smart they are. But how people describe how scientists and sociologists and social scientists, how they describe capuchin monkeys, I guess out of the species of monkeys, they're not the most intelligent species. Those ones aren't, right? So in terms of the monkeys, so they teach them about this money. They give the monkeys the money, and immediately the monkey, what most animals would probably do, put it in their mouth, and they realize it wasn't food, because capuchin monkeys, they like sweet things, they like food, they like sex. That's what they're known for. That's what the capuchin monkeys are known for. Food and sex. How ironic. Talk about the hood. Talk about ninjas. Food and sex. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just saying, can we have an honest conversation? Don't get in your bag. Let's have an honest conversation. That's what makes me different, because I'm having honest talk. Food and money. So the capuchin monkey takes the coin and puts it in his mouth. And he realizes that it wasn't food, so he throws it at the researcher. So the researcher comes around with fruit. Now, you know the capuchin monkey wants fruit. So he gives the monkey the coin again. The monkey takes the coin. He gives the monkey a fruit. So now the monkey has the fruit and the coin. And then the researcher takes the coin from the monkey in exchange for the fruit. Now the monkey, after doing it several times, the monkeys start to realize, oh, okay, so if I have these coins, then I can get the fruit or the sweets, the goods, the food. I can get it. So I need this money in order to get it. So then the money became the focus in order for them to get the fruit or get the treats. Then the researcher said, okay, let's change something up. Because once upon a time, when they first started it, all the fruit, whether it was Jell-O, whether it was bananas, whether it was plums, everything was the same price. There was no capitalism. It was all the same price. Then what they did was they raised the price on the item that the monkey preferred the most. So if the capuchin monkey wanted Jell-O, Jell-O now became more expensive to get. And initially what they saw was the monkeys would then buy less of the Jell-O and start buying other things because they could no longer afford the Jell-O. So they could buy less of it and they would get other items. And then one monkey out of the community decided, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to steal all the coins. Because now they realize it's the coins that get us the items that we like. So just apply this to the ninjas in the hood, right? The coins is going to get you the Jordans. The coins is going to get you the iPhone. The coins is going to get you the 64-inch TV. The coins are going to get you the stuff, so you know you need the coins. So instead, because of the coins were becoming scarce because of the price of food, they changed all the pricing on the food, and then it was hard for them to get the food. So the monkey said, you know something? I'm going to rob this joint. Y'all don't have to believe me. Somebody's asking who did the study. Once again, the study was done by a psychologist in Yale University and an economist. They were working together. Look it up. The study was done in 2005. Just go ahead and look up the study. You'll get all the information there. You can just Google it, and it will give you the names that you're looking for. You just need to know it's a 2005 study with capuchin monkeys with money. And you'll see all the studies done on the monkeys, right? So back to the story. Thank you, Black Mama. See, Black Mama, she does the research for people that can do research for themselves. I love Black Mama. That's why she's so favored in many of Black media. We love her. But anyway, That's the name. I put it on the screen, courtesy of Black Mama. She did the research as easy as that. Boom, Google, bop, boop, bop, boop, bop, bop, and she gave it to you. There you go. It's easy. It's easy, people. Research is easy, people. Just takes patience and delayed gratification. Delayed gratification. Some things that some people ain't got. But anyways, I was saying. So the monkey said, I'm going to rob this joint. So he goes over, makes it over to the side where the money is, takes the coins. He picks up the coins and he throws them over the cage into the community where all the other capuchin monkeys are. Now there was 12 coins, 7 monkeys. So everybody, scarcity, right? 12 coins, 7 monkeys. Everybody fighting for the coins. And he said, well, damn, they're not going to work, right? That's not going to work. Thank you for that donation, Joey. He said receipts, love her. You know, listen, we love receipts. Y'all can do the research. I ain't lying to y'all. I ain't here to lie for y'all. I ain't got a lot of y'all. I'm here to protect my brand, right? My scholarly brand. I got to protect this. I ain't got a lie. Nonetheless, throws the coins over. Everybody fighting for the coins. Come out and say like, damn, not everybody got a coin. Some people have more coins than the other. Rob the place. So the researcher was like, holy shit, we got to get them coins back. How are we going to get them coins back? Because now the monkeys are holding on to their coins. Because they know these coins got value. He's like, yeah, I'm about to get the bananas and shit. Got this jello. That jello, 2 coins. I got 3 coins, yo. I'm about to get this jello. Monkeys holding on to the coins. The researcher comes in and the researcher says, hold up. We got to be able to get these coins back. So the researcher brings in an abundance, well, not an abundance, but enough fruits and jello and all this other kind of stuff to entice the monkeys to spend their money so they can get the money back. Redistribution of wealth. I'm trying to tell you. I hope you're following the story. I already gave you all the concepts earlier. Now connect the dots. Redistribution of wealth. They needed to get their money back so that the researchers can put the money back in the bank, right, to where they're at. So they come out with the fruits, and some monkeys, check this out, family, some monkeys are buying the fruit. You know, they doing their little trades. You know how they got their little stimulus check. So they're going to get paid. They're going out there doing all this shit with their stimulus check. Then the researchers noted, I think the economists, I'm not too sure if it was the psychologist or the economist, but one of them noticed a little monkey off yonder. And that little monkey had 1 coin in his hands. And the monkey's talking to another monkey, whatever they doing. The monkey decides to give the other monkey the coin. So the economist and the psychologist is like, wait a minute, is this an act of altruism? Is he giving the other monkey a coin because that monkey don't have a coin? So now he's going to help him out so he could be able to get fruit. Is this something that's happening? Nah, what do you think happened? Baby. Baby, let me tell you what happened. Oh, here's the researchers. That's his name. That's exactly one. Keith Chen, the researcher, Adam Smith, the economist. That's exactly it. Thank you, Black Mama. That's exactly what their names are. So anyway, I'll leave that up for you guys can look at it and you can see it on your own. So he sees one monkey give the other monkey who didn't have a coin, but it wasn't altruism. It was so that he can get some booty. Y'all heard what I said. He wanted the cookies and cream. He wanted to bust a nut. You know, you heard what I'm saying. So that monkey traded sex for the coin. I'm just trying to tell y'all the truth. I ain't lying. I'm trying to tell you the truth. Traded sex for the coin. So they started to realize that there's things that they can do in order to get more money. They can rob the joint, get more money. They can revert to prostitution to get more money. After he got it off, it only took 8 seconds because, you know, it's a monkey. It only took 8 seconds. He got the coin. Then he went over. She got the coin and she went over and bought some fruit. Boom. So how does this work? How does this work in our community? Right? How does this work in our community? Think about it, y'all. Right? Somebody said, Babe's #1 fan says, your MSW here. What's up, social worker? You make me feel like I'm back in school all the time, although I'm retired. We still learning. We still learning, baby. We still learning. So we see that kind of stuff right here in our community. You create scarcity. You remove it, all types of things are going to happen in the community. All types of things are going to happen. That's why I say you got to understand the psychological effect of these things. We can't keep walking around as test dummies, crash dummies, research subjects. We cannot keep walking around and allowing these things just to happen to us. We're going to have to get to a point where we realize, yeah, there's a system that we cannot control. Y'all know what system I'm talking about, the non-melanated system. There's a system that we cannot control. We can fight, but it's going to take a long time, right? We probably won't see it in our lifetime. Doesn't mean we stop fighting. We keep fighting, but what else do we have to be doing right now? We have to get the war back on the minds of our children. We have to get control over the minds and the behavior of the people in our community. Yes, we got to keep fighting the non-melanated system, right? We got to keep fighting that system. We got to dismantle it. We got to go for everything that's rightfully ours. Yes, I will not stop fighting that. I'm going to fight that system every day I wake up. But at the same time, we also know that we have to gain control back over the minds of our people. We just can't keep saying these are the people who are doing this, because those people are our children. They are our neighbors. They are our cousins, our nephews, our uncles, our sisters, our brothers. Those children belong to us. So even though we are working against a system, y'all know what system I'm talking about, right? We are working against a system that is designed to oppress us. There is a system there for that, but there are things that we can and should be doing to get control over our mind, because if you don't get control over your mind, you're not going to dismantle that system. If we don't get control over the minds and the behaviors of those of us in our community, we're not going to dismantle that system. Because like I said before, and I say all the time, we're constantly fighting within our community, and we're constantly fighting outside of our community. And that's why we're constantly getting tired. We're getting tired, and every decade, every generation, the work is not done. The work is not done. We move the needle a little bit, and people get tired. And the one thing that we are not continuously doing in an effective manner is getting control over the mind of our children, getting control over the mind of our community, getting control over the minds of our people. The minds are being hijacked by everything and every system outside of ourselves. So what are we going to start doing about it? Black Mama is saying, but those of us that know better are more conscious. We have to set better examples for our brothers and sisters that have not yet had access to proper teaching. Share this channel, right? Somebody else is saying, that's why I moved and had kids in a different community, and my kids and grandkids can help change a community. All right. Somebody else is saying, I'm beginning to feel like fighting the system is keeping us from finding our purpose. Ooh. Ooh. Mmm. Mmm. Wow. That one was deep. Somebody said, am I often timed out? I'm sorry that I get really passionate about my people. Who timed you out? I don't know what you're talking about. Somebody else is saying, pretty much, Doc, mind control from TV and social media and the school systems and the hospitals and the doctors. There's mind control all over the place, just not TV and social media. Everybody who is not, that does not have your best interest at heart. is in a position to control your mind, and they benefit from it one way or another. Everybody who does not have your best interest at heart benefits from controlling your mind. Whether it's through the scripts that they write you for medication that you don't freaking need, whether it's through the educational system that is failing you continuously and giving you information that is not true, but they're telling you that if you don't send your children to school, you're going to be arrested, right? First of all, self-education. I know not everyone has the liberty to be able to educate their children themselves. I hope you guys have learned something from this whole pandemic with being home for able to educate their children. I hope you guys have been doing research around different programs, educational programs online that you have been having your children use. I, for one, have my 7-year-old using IXL, the letter I, the letter X, the letter L.com, which I learned from my brother's school, Q Butter, Zyx Institute. I learned from that program from that school, right? And all the children there are on IXL too. And they have all the state standards that your children should be up to make sure that your children are on point. Now, if you're homeschooling, this is a great program to add into your homeschooling. But if your child is in a regular school, this is a great substitute to increase what the school is already doing. It's called IXL.com. Go ahead and sign up. Check it out. Make the investment. It's not a lot of money every month. It's not a lot of money whatsoever. Make the investment. But I know I have my son doing it because he's being homeschooled. Well, he's in Zyx, but in conjunction with Zyx, he's being homeschooled, right? So it's a matter of me making sure that he's learning and he's on point with what he has to learn, so I can make sure he stays on the standard. So you have to get control over your child's mind. Get control over the education that your children are given. Get control over your own education. Raise your self-awareness. Start to pay attention to your behaviors. What are you doing that's contributing to the madness? I always say this. I said this before. I'm going to say it again. What are you doing that's contributing to the madness? Are you spending enough time with your children? Are you taking an active role in your community? Are you serving as a mentor for younger people? Or a role model for younger people? Are you kicking your bad habits? Are you in therapy to work through your traumas and your generational pains and wounds that you're continuously passing down to the future generations? Are you working on you? Are you self-aware how you're contributing to the problem? Are you demonstrating self-respect, which is number 3? Self-respect. Do you teach your children self-respect? And what does that look like? Are you making sure your children are properly dating, are properly courting? Are you monitoring it? Are you being an example for it? Are you meeting their friends? Do you know where your children are going? What time they're coming home? Do you have curfews? Do you do chaperone services? Do you make sure your children move in pairs and not walking around by themselves? Do you speak to the parents of your children's friends so you guys can all be in agreement with each other and all aware of where your children at, whose house they're there? Are there any guns in the house? Are there any pedophiles in the house? Are there any active criminals in the house? Are you doing your role? Are you teaching your daughters about self-respect? Are you having conversations of what it looks like to respect one's body with both your sons and your daughters? And the last one, the 4th one, is self-discipline. How do you discipline yourself? Are you demonstrating discipline of oneself? Are you exercising delayed gratification? You don't got to get it today. Right? Thank you for that donation, Mary. She said invest in books and not video games. Limit electronic entertainment. Right? You don't have to get it today. Hold off. Take some time. Wait for it. If you can exercise delayed gratification, then you can teach your children that, and they can start to demonstrate it. There is a system that is whooping our asses every generation. When are you going to get tired? When are you going to get tired? There is a strategy that is programming your mind, hijacking your consciousness every day. We can't keep talking about these things and we're not doing anything about it. Yeah, you got to fight the system. I understand that. But baby, you got to take care of your community. You got to take care of your family. You got to take care of your children, your extended family, your neighbors, your friends, your community. You got to do it. Thank you for that donation, Parnell. I appreciate that. You got to do it. Right? Somebody's saying we are at an inflection point. Govern your life and build on your self-worth. You are all you need. This is what we have to do. So do understand that when I come on here for Mental Health Fridays, I'm trying to show you something. I'm trying to get you to think about something. If they can teach monkeys, or not even teach them, they did teach the monkeys about money, but if they can create scarcity around monkeys and just observe how they act, then they definitely know how ninjas going to act in the hood. They definitely know how we are going to behave. It is all by design. And at the end of the day, the monkeys did what they had to do for the bag in order for them to take the bag and give it right back to the oppressor. They'll kill you and then go buy a car and give the money back to the oppressor. They'll rob you and then go buy some Jordans and give the money back to the oppressor. They'll sell their cootie cat and then go buy some Chinese food and give the money back to the oppressor. We got to step back. And we got to start thinking about how we are behaving, how we are contributing to the prisons that have been set for us, how we're making an active contribution to keep us in this proverbial prison that we have created. We can get out of it. We just need to change our mindset. LeVar, thank you for that donation. Says, don't wait for your feelings to change to take the action. Take the action, your feelings will change. I love you all. I will see you all tomorrow when I address the Black community on some issues. Even though, I sort of did that today, but today was mental health. Tomorrow's a different conversation. See you all tomorrow. Peace and Black power.